Welcome to another empowering episode of InspireHER, where we have healthy and meaningful conversations about women supporting women. We spotlight women who are breaking boundaries, defying expectations, and making their voices heard. I'm Tracy Dominic, and today we will be having courageous conversations, women who are challenging the status quo. And I cannot think of two more fitting guests to share their stories with us today. Joining us are two women who have consistently stepped out of their comfort zones to challenge societal norms and also create lasting impact. First, we have Pamela Egbo, a remarkable entrepreneur and founder of Hanna and Hugh Limited. Pamela is also the former executive director of the O.B. Jackson Foundation, where she led various initiatives that broke new ground in philanthropy. And secondly, with us also is Atinuke Odjenima, a leadership development expert, human resource professional, and business consultant. Atinuke has dedicated her entire career to nurturing and grooming the next generation of African leaders, and her work speaks volume about breaking through barriers. Today, we'll be having that powerful discussion with these two courageous women. Okay, amazing ladies, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's actually lovely having you two here on InspireHER. How are you doing?
Great, thank you for having me.
Thank you. How are you doing, Atinuke?
Good.
Good, right?
I mean, being alive.
Yes, yes.
The gift of breathing, of being alive. I mean, I feel good with that.
You know, in our Nigeria today, when you ask someone, how are you doing? Are
Good.
you really ready to hear the answer to that question? Because
Yes.
the economy have honestly pushed a lot of us Nigerians.
Yeah.
And how have you been coping? Let's just talk generally now as Nigerians. How have you been coping as women, especially in your family, and also trying to meet up with expectations? Let me start with you, Pamela.
To be honest, it's been quite difficult, just generally. I think for me, I feel very blessed, just as Atinuke said, to wake up every day and have a home to live in, a roof over my head. And so my basic day-to-day needs are taken care of. But I'm very cognizant of the fact that they're not people as lucky as I am. And seeing, I think it's a time in Nigeria where we have to be very sensitive to people who don't have what we have or are not in those positions, and see how we can help. Because take the petrol prices, for instance, just filling your car. My car has gone from 12,000 a week to almost 70,000 every week to fill it. I mean, it's not even sustainable at this point. So, but I find reasons to be grateful every day. And I'm very intentional right now about seeing ways I can help people who are not as fortunate, even if it's giving my driver food in the mornings to release that pressure, or just being very cognizant about helping people at this point.
What about you, Atinuke? What has been
Well,
your journey through
you
that?
didn't have to even extend it to the situation in Nigeria when I said that, the gift of waking up every morning alone, it's something that one should be grateful for. Why? Because they say that when there is life, there is hope, right? And there's also this thing in terms of hope, that if God has not given up on us, as a country, then why should we as individuals give up on Nigeria? So that our waking up every morning, for me, I see it as a promise to say that, we have a role to play individually. And from there, I would take it up from what Pamela said about helping people. So now when I meet people and everyone, I just tell them, I say, see, the situation of this country, the situation that we found ourselves now, it's if we do not have the political power, right, or or we're not leaders in government, right? There's so many expectations that we have as citizens from our government, that government should do this and that. So if we do not have such power or position to effect changes in our lives, the best changes or help that we could do for one another is to live in consideration, and give support at the capacity that we can, and do what we should part time. So we have these people around us. Don't even go outside your compound. Maybe
That's
your
right.
gate man, your driver, your laundryman, they
right.
have families. So that's
right.
your own Nigerian. And how are
Yes.
you helping those people? How are you governing your own home? So I think that is very essential with the situation of the country. And talking about the situation of the country, I think that we are on our own developmental journey. It's a journey, so there will be some times that it's going to be high, and there will be some times that it's going to be low, and there will be times that it's going to be even, and whatsoever past glory that Nigeria had, I think that what we are doing now, we're going on a journey of progress. All right, so all the encouragement that we need as women, as families, as a people, I'm of the opinion that we should be there to support ourselves, providing, encouraging, and inspiring everyone.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. What you said about phases, even as a country, we go through these phases. And this phase we actually
you wanted to say as
pass.
individuals.
Yes.
As individuals in
Yes.
our own personal lives, right?
Yes,
Fantastic.
because
now
when you
let's
go
talk
to
of the life of a nation.
Because when you go to the market now and you just come back and you're like, what did you even buy
Right,
to exhaust
that's
all
right.
the money, right? And you're thinking to yourself, it's like it's went from bad to worse to worse all the time. But just like you said, hope is what we all need. I think it's very important. I found that helping people actually give them hope.
That's
It
right.
gives them hope to keep going and actually look forward to what lies ahead. Okay, so let's go in depth into the conversation now. Atinuke, can you take us through your journey as a human resource professional and a leadership expert? You've been in the field for decades, more than 1-2 decades now. So what has inspired you through this journey? And what has helped you challenge the status quo?
Okay, so I think I can tell my story as a girl child, right? As a female, as a woman, and then talking about inspiration to answer that question. I think I can take that story away in my entire life's journey, and that's the story of my father. I have a father, because he's still alive. I have a father who would tell me that, okay, I want you to grow up to be a notable woman. I don't want you to be a kind of woman that a man would beat at his chest to say, if not for me. He says these things in Yoruba. To say, if not for me, that, like I made you and all of that. And very early in life, my dad introduced, I heard from him, the concept of self-esteem. So kind of, I was a confident young girl, and it made me to find self early in life. And when you find self, that's the truth. When you find self, you get to have some clarity and direction as to where you want to be, what you want to do, and everything stems from knowing who you are. That's when you find self. So it wasn't so difficult for me to find myself, because I had the parental support. And talking about InspireHER, I think we should talk a little, because culturally, women are meant to be, the ones putting the family together, right? So, but I think that such things should start from such inspiration should start from the family, How are we able to support our children to ensure that they are confident in who they are, so that they can navigate their life more purposefully and more decisively, right? So that helped me purposefully and decisively. So my journey, oh gosh, let's not go there for today, but I would just say that finding self helped me a lot in my journey. I didn't have clarity as to what it was, but I had an idea of who I wanted to be. And maybe in the course of the conversation, I'll be bringing it in here and there.
Yes, self-awareness, parental guide, very important. Do you relate to that, Pamela? What has been your own inspiration through your journey as a philanthropy and also your journey as a business leadership expert?
I think for me, I think I'm still on that journey. I don't think that I've arrived. I think that I'm a big believer that we have seasons in life. And in my own journey, I'm in a different season now. But I think along the way, what's helped me is to always have an open mind to learn and understand that in your journey, as in whatever you're trying to do, a business person or just working a regular 9 to 5, you will have ebbs and flows. So you will have lows, you will have highs. It won't be very easy. Sometimes it might be easier. And I think what has shaped me particularly, I lived abroad for many years, lived in England for over 35 years, and I just got back 3 years ago. And what's helped me is just knowing that those experiences living abroad shaped who I was. Particularly, I was, for the most part, learning along the way with my business as a single mother, because I went through a divorce. And so that shaped my path, really. I think that if that didn't happen, I might be on a different journey. But that's the journey I found myself, and I had to pivot and kind of navigate my way through it and say, okay, this is where I find my life right now. How do I make it better in this particular season that I find myself? So it's been an interesting journey, but I am still learning and still growing through it.
It's actually quite an interesting and unique one. So what would you say is that one strategy that you had to take to move you forward in that journey?
Yeah, so I think at the time, living in England, like I said, I found myself suddenly a single mother. My daughter was 18 months at the time, and I wanted to be that mother that was there for my child. I did not want to be a mother that would leave her in, obviously living in England, you have those luxuries of, I could leave her at a childcare or a nursery, but I didn't want to be that mother who I only saw my daughter early in the morning, drop her off, pick her up. So I had to pivot. I have to think, how can I live and earn an income without having to do a 9 to 5 job? And so that started my journey of entrepreneurship, where I was able to start a skincare company called Hanna and Hugh. In fact, I started another company before that called Mums with Tots. So I had to think outside the box, and that propelled me in my journey to look at ways I could make an income and still be there for my daughter.
Amazing. That's quite amazing. And I would say, if we want to explore that, I think I have amazing women who are also single mom, and they are doing amazingly well, especially in their career, in their business. It's like when you are that, it's just like a superpower. So it's like a superpower to me, that something actually just pushes you to want to do more, want to achieve more in your career and in your businesses, which you already established, right? Yeah. Okay, so we'll go on a short break now, and when we come back, we'll continue this inspiring conversation.
So to do well in public speaking, you must see it as a relationship between yourself and your audience.
Speak with power.
Speak with power.
Speak with power.
Speak with power.
Welcome back to InspireHER, where we have interesting and amazing conversations about women supporting women and women uplifting women. And I have here in the studio, of course, two amazing women who are breaking barriers and shattering glasses You know, just before we went on the break, Pamela, you were talking about how being a single mom have actually empowered you and not actually broken you down in any way. And that, I must say, is incredible. Incredible. So, Atinuke, in your field as a leadership expert, what are some of the challenges you faced trying to get women to actually be leaders, especially in the workplace?
Okay, so observations, of course, and these are observations that you will all relate with, is I think that quite a number of women, you know, they are yet to, I mean, women are yet to really tap or discover their confidence. Yes. A lot of women I see that, you know, they don't want to take on the role of leadership because they feel that they are not good enough, or maybe they just feel that they can't. All right. And so it's a field where there leadership development, like what I'm doing, it's a field where we don't really have quite a number of people. And if you look at it, the statistics are there too, you know, we have very few women, but that is quite kind of changing now. If you check, I think the last 2 years now, last 1 or 2 years, you see that a lot of women are emerging to be the CEOs, to be on board and all of that, which is quite good news. And it means that something is actually changing. Now women are believing more in themselves. Even if you look at the political setting, you see that we have very few women, if I did I say few, countable women that are taking on that political ambition to want to make a change at the governmental stage. So why this is the question for me, and the question maybe following it will be what can we do about it, right? Which I think that doing something about this is for the purpose of this show, to inspire other women to ensure that they find their geniuses and right, and you know, they excel in it. So self-discovery for women is not just about our responsibilities as wives or as mothers. So there are more things that women can do. There are more things that women can be. There are more things that women can have, you know, that we can only get those things done. We can only acquire those things when women have a very high sense of awareness about who they are and the kind of skills, in fact, knowledge that they have. But the question is, do I blame women for not discovering themselves? Maybe I'm just going to drop it there. And that's because of the way the societal expectations of who a girl child is, of who a female is, societal, or should I say cultural, you know, cultural boxing of a woman. I grew up to say that no matter how well read you are going to end up in the kitchen. Who said so?
No, I absolutely agree with you. Confidence
so
and self-awareness.
The confidence comes in from you, first of all, identifying that there's something, I can be more, I can do more, I can have more. All right, I can be everything, you know, that I want to be. I can be a wife, I can be a mom, I can be a business person, I can, you know. So we're not just limited to just one thing, but the ability is actually where the challenge is, and is regardless of gender. The challenge is in how do we become more productive even in the midst of many other things that we do. Do you see now? How do I manage myself such that no ball, you know, when you're juggling the balls, no balls of, I mean, one of these balls of my life, no balls falls. So I think that is where the challenge should be, and not that women should just stay to be just moms, you know, and I mean, I think there is more that we can be, and that more is found in women knowing who they are, what they've got, you know, building their self-confidence, believing in themselves, you know, and then just go out and do it. They'll be amazed.
Yeah. So, Pamela, what do you think? You think what she said is what women need to push forward?
Yeah, I totally agree with her. I would go a step further and say that one of the things I think that hold women back in our society is that we are not supporting of one another. We live in a very competitive space most of the time. I belong to a few groups of women we're incredibly supportive of one another, belong to networking groups where we can feed each other ideas. And I think we need to get over that barrier. I think that for a woman, the biggest thing that I've learned in business, or even in growing my own character to be a better person, is you need to avoid the comparison trap. When you compare yourself to someone else, then you start getting insecure, you can get envious, and that stops you. Actually, that limits you from growing. So in terms of women becoming more, we actually need other women. We actually need to not live in silos and support one another. When a woman becomes a business CEO, for instance, like she alluded to, I'm very proud that the banking industry has a lot of women at the top, very top. There are upcoming women in the oil industry doing that as well. However, we're still not even scratching the surface. 64% of women in this country are skilled in the workforce, but only 30% are in any form of senior corporate role. So there's still a way to go. So I think as a woman, when you find yourself in those positions of power, you need to bring other women along with you. You need to make sure that you make a dent in the practices of your workplace to make sure that there is gender inclusivity and diversity in that workplace. And you need to be confident enough to say, I can still be a top woman, and invite other women to sit at the same table with me, and not to be competitive. I think that is really important.
Yes, that is important. Just while you were speaking, I just thought to myself, at this phase, sometimes I just sit to think, it's about intentionality.
Absolutely.
When I see an opportunity that a friend or a colleague or even a family member would like or would take advantage of, I'm just reach this person, contact this person.
That's
it
right.
also has a lot to do with intentionality, and just like you said, taking away comparison and all the envy and jealousy that comes with the stereotype of girls and women do not like themselves.
That's right.
You know, I think that solutions will be more sustained when we find the root causes. And I think that I don't want us to end the show without mentioning that, because sometimes as she was talking, and it just occurred to me, but really, how did that become? How did that become that women don't support women? Why that? So could it be from a cultural thing? Culturally in the early times, women were just groomed for marriage alone.
Yes.
So like almost all through your girl child is do this, know how to cook, know how to sit, know how to dress, and when the time is up, maybe when you are 18, those days they married early. So when you are 18, so they tell you, okay, it's time to go to your husband's house or something. But then I think that could it be out of a cultural setting where women were made to be competitive with other women? There's some cultures that ladies will come, they will all stand, maybe they all dance, they'll be all well dressed together to get a husband. So there's this, that's my competitor. No, she shouldn't get it. What does she have that I don't have? What can she do that I cannot do? Why? So I think that perhaps that is where it stems from. But when we see ourselves now from a place of, she's beautiful, so am I, all right? She's got things that I don't have, and I've got things that she also doesn't have. There are things that I know that she doesn't know. There are things that I know, there are things that she knows that I don't know. So then there are no reasons, no basis for competition. Then that is when the collaboration, coming together to say, okay, let's support one another. When we realize that, we are made to hold each other and complement in all our inadequacies.
Right. Historically speaking, I think, yes, societal norms actually contributed to this whole hate between women and all of that. But that's why we're having this conversation, to uplift women and empower women.
That's right.
You used to be an executive director for Obi Jackson Foundation. And what are some of the opportunities you created for women?
Oh yeah, so the Obi Jackson Foundation, a wonderful foundation which I've just stepped out of. We focus on education, empowerment, and healthcare access in rural communities, particularly in Anambra State. So we had an opportunity to change the narrative for people in the rural communities, women and girls, where their narrative would have ended up being, I'm a petty trader, or I get married early. So we made sure that we were intentional about building capacity in women and children, giving scholarships to girls in particular, as well as running programs where we could give microcredit to women to start their own businesses. And we were able to impact over 500 women and girls. So I think just being intentional about changing that narrative for them was really important. And so it was great to be successcal at that.
That's beautiful. I mean, we need more of that in our societies today. I would really love to continue this conversation, but we're rounding up now. So what would you say has kept you going, Pamela, all of these years in your career and in your personal life?
I think, like I alluded, you cannot do it in silo. You have to have a group of women that you share similar values.
Awesome.
That will help you, that you can go and be yourself with when it's difficult, you cry to, you laugh with, and bring each other up. So because at the end of the day, it's not really just about running a successful business, it's really about who you are as a person. And you know, the famous saying is, you know, people will always remember how you made them feel. And so having a group of women supporting other women, for me, has what's kept me going.
I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Like myself, I have like 2 women who I go to. It's we reciprocate this. Tell them your problem. These are people you trust, and people are not going to judge you and accept you, encourage you when you're going through phases. And you discover that when you do that, you feel better.
Absolutely.
It works like magic, and I totally think that more women should have women in their cycle who are willing and able to accommodate all their excesses and not judge them and encourage them. So lastly, what would you advise women to do, especially in terms of breaking societal norms?
I think, just as she alluded to, be confident, don't be afraid to do something you've never done before. And I think that's how you shatter glass ceilings, and not worry about what the other person's going to think. If you find yourself in a space, just go for it. That's what I would say.
Just go for it.
Yes.
Atinuke, what has kept you going all these years? Because I know being an entrepreneur, it's not easy. In the leadership phase, it's not easy to manage people, especially. So what has kept you going all of these years?
Okay, so I'll say this in 2 things, and that's what has been keeping me going, and I won't lie to you, is who am I, right? What do I want to achieve, all right? So those 2 things guide me a lot. So like knowing who I am. So I'm your typical girl that looks herself into the mirror and psych myself up. All right. So then the next thing, I think it actually preps me up to what do I want. So I feel that we should be clear always on what we want. All right, so what do I want? And I ask myself the next question, why do I want that thing? And what are the obstacles, you know? So those things prep me up. It's funny enough, it's not just an interview question. This question is a question that everybody asks me all the time. That's okay, you've been very consistent on this leadership development thing. I mean, what's been, you know, sustaining you? For me, it's the sense of purpose.
Sense of purpose.
So whether, you know, in good times, in bad times, you know, sense of purpose keeps me on track.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not an easy place to be. And to be honest with you, sometimes it's because of what I do, because leadership development, and I'm also into nation building thing and stuff like that. Sometimes it could be a lone journey, but like she said, which she reminded me. In fact, the way she was talking, I'm like, okay, I need to go and look for a women, you know, support group where it could be a kind of support system where you're not being judged and all of that. But really, it could be a lonely place. But then my head is always on my shoulder when I remember who I want to be, you know, and who I am, and what I'm capable of doing.
Yeah, who you want to be, why you're here.
Why I'm
sense
here.
of purpose.
Sense
I'm
of
always
purpose.
big on purpose,
Yeah.
because if you don't know what you're doing here, then it's easy to lose hope.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just before we round up, what would be your advice to women who are not confident enough, who do not know themselves enough to push themselves out there and break barriers? What would be your advice?
Oh my gosh, this is emotional kind of for me,
Right.
because I just want to say that there is more to you, really, as in literally. It is not motivation. There is more to you, and find those things in you. Know that everyone has got their strengths and their weaknesses. Nothing do you. Okay, so leverage on your own strength, and be the best that you can be.
Exactly.
Absolutely beautiful. I really wish I could continue this conversation, but we could do this again next time. Thank you so much for coming on the show with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Pamela,
having
thank
us.
you, Atinuke.
Loaded conversation, but time
Loaded
wouldn't let us
conversation.
exhaust everything.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed myself here too.
All right, to our viewers, I hope today's episode has sparked something in you, whether it's a renewed sense of courage or the belief that you too can challenge societal expectations and make your mark. Remember, every step you take to break through barriers is a step toward paving the way for others. Take this advice from Margaret Thatcher, where she said, "Don't follow the crowd, let the crowd follow you." I'm Tracy Dominic. Thank you for joining us on Inspire Her. Until next time, stay bold, stay courageous, and continue to inspire.